How's it going out there, all my wealthy warriors? Um, Today is the last day of the year, the last day of 2021. It's the last day of a chapter that honestly has been very fulfilling for me, but you know, I've had to grow through a lot. I've had to face a lot of my traumas. I've had to heal, you know, from centuries of, of trauma. And I'm still on that road of healing. But when I look at my life at the very beginning of 2021 and at the end of 2020, I honestly couldn't see myself where I was today. I was pretty lost. I was depressed, and I was upset. And I was growing through a lot in life. And right now, as I sit back and I reflect on 2021, it's been an amazing year. But there's been a lot of growth. And I made that decision to start to better my life, to start to invest into myself more, to create this podcast, to go all out on social media. You know, if you follow me on Instagram or TikTok, I post quite a lot of stuff, especially my Instagram. I've been posting 2 to 3 times a day for just almost a year now. And that's when my Instagram started to take off. And it held me more accountable to, investing into myself because I know there's people out there in this world that really need, the light that I have. And the light that I have is the result of growing up. You know, I don't look at them as my foster family, but as my guardian family, I look at them as my real family. And I always felt weird saying, foster family growing up. Sometimes I would have to try to explain to people um, that they were my guardian family, and people don't really understand that term, the guardian family. And I looked at them as I still do. I still look at them as my family, and I wouldn't be the man who I am today if it wasn't for them. I don't even know if I would be here today if I didn't go down the path of being adopted by my mom and being raised by her, being raised in a loving family like that. Always, she couldn't always provide me with what I wanted as a kid, and I didn't understand that at the time. It's just, she was basically, for most of her life, was a single mom, and to adopt me, a young little boy, at when she basically turned 18, was a huge step for us. A huge step up for her to become a parent to someone that she didn't give birth to, but she treated me as if she gave birth to me. And I basically, my first three memories as a kid aren't the pleasantest. Basically, the only thing I remember is just crying and feeling afraid and feeling scared. And my very first thought, or my very first memory, was my older brother's funeral. The awake, in indigenous people, some communities, some tribes, we do a thing called an awake. And usually with us, the Tunacha people, you know, after that person has started to make their journey into the other realm, into the spirit world. That's when the spirit world is very, very strong. It's very active. There's a lot of spirits out. There's good spirits and evil spirits. And I remember going to my grandma's house, and I remember, um, he drowned in a river when they were fishing. An accident happened, and he slipped and fell into the river. And the only thing that they found of him was his leg, and that's what they buried him in. They just buried his leg. They didn't find anything else of him. And I remember being a little boy, and I remember being afraid because I could feel something very, very, very evil, very very dark. It scared me. As a little kids, the first 7 years, they say, we're connected to Nupika. We're connected to Nupika and the spirits, the creator and the spirits. So if you have children and they're under 7 years old, and if you're praying, you're praying to God or creator or whoever you believe in, listen to your children when they play. I heard a story once that children they're that gateway to the spirit world, to the other world, to the realm. And sometimes they'll be playing and they'll actually say things, and that's them, connecting with the other side and Nupika. And I remember being a little kid, and I was really afraid of there was multiple things out in the living room. And I remember I was crying and I didn't want to be there. And then they brought me back to my grandma's room in the back, and all I could feel was this negative energy, this very scary energy out in the living room. And they were doing ceremony and stuff too out there. So that's another reason why, they were doing ceremony. And me being so young, I was only 2 years old. I actually wasn't even 2 years old. I was just about to turn 2, because my brother was buried, I believe it's 2 days before my birthday. So my birthday is September 30th, and I believe his funeral was on the 28th. So this would have been September 27th that this was happening. And I wasn't even 2 years old, and I could remember that stuff. And I have a few other memories that aren't the best either. And it's kind of crazy and sad at the same time, as many indigenous people grew up the same way, if not worse, than my story that I have to share. So when I see other indigenous people thriving, when I see them overcoming obstacles, becoming sober, starting a career, doing things like that, it makes me very, very happy, and it inspires me. It inspires me to keep pushing myself to become better, because I know that if I keep pushing, even just 1% every day, I will, leave this place better. And I have left this place better. If I were to go to sleep tonight and never wake up tomorrow, I would feel happy, because I know that I've helped people out there, and I'm going to help people that I don't even know of. And what do I mean by that? It's the ripple effect. So say I help heal someone, because heal people, and they go on to live a better life for whoever, their kids or whatever like that. And then those kids grow up in a better environment where they're not having to overcome their traumas, because there is no traumas there, because their parents did the work. Well, I may not never meet these people down the road, right? So that's why I understand that, if we just work 1% a day, every day, to do something to become better, that we can leave this place better than we found it. So as I recap, looking back on 2021, there's been a lot of growth for me. I've pushed myself in many ways that I didn't think I could push myself, And I'm very grateful. And even just these past few days have been pretty phenomenal, and how things, I'm just trusting the process. I do practice as I preach, and the things I post on my social media and the things I talk about are the things I've grown through. I'm never going to talk about something that I've never been through, I've never grown through in my life. So these things that I share on my podcast, on my social media, are things that I've experienced, and they've helped me and somehow, and with me being more mindful and working on my meditation, that's been able to allow me to ground myself. You know, back on my very first podcast, I challenged people to set a timer. Set a timer on your phone for every hour. Doesn't have to be on the hour. Just pick a random time and breathe into your belly 5 times. Let's do it right now. So how do you feel? I know I feel even more calm than I did when I first sat down to record this podcast. And that's all it takes, is setting a timer, which ultimately is setting a goal. Because your goal is to be mindful 12 times a day. That's all it is. It's 12 times a day for 30 seconds. To breathe in and out 5 times into your belly. And as you do that, you start to create that as a habit. And you'll be sitting there thinking. And all of a sudden you'll be like, whoa, I'm thinking, I should stop that. I'm worrying or whatever, right? I'm creating fear, I'm creating anxiety in my body. I should breathe into my belly right now, because I'm most likely breathing into my chest, because most people don't know how to breathe properly. We weren't taught that as kids. I wasn't taught it as a kid to breathe proper. And with these little mindful tools, you become more mindful, and I become more mindful. And I get caught up in things too, because I'm human as well. But with this whole mindfulness thing, I've been able to catch myself, and I'm able to tell myself, hey, trust the process. Trust the process, Peter. Practice what you preach. Trust the process. Don't rush the process. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Because we're so asphyxiated with that sprint mentality. We want it now. We want it right now. We want it instantly. When things like that don't happen, life is a marathon, and I've talked about it before. Life is a marathon, and at the end of that marathon, at that finish line, is death. So ask yourself, are you really rushing to your death? Are you going to trust the process and understand that everything happens for the right reasons? And as I look back on my year in 2021, I really understand that now. I truly, truly understand that everything happens for the right reasons. And sometimes we can't see it in that moment, right? Because we're in the storm of that eye, or we're in that eye of the storm. But, every storm has to end. And, I've always started to look at things in, as in quotes and things like that. And the strongest trees, after they start growing up and they reach to a certain height, they still keep growing. We can't see that growth though. That growth happens under the earth. It's their roots. They're strengthening their roots. And throughout storms, that's how trees become stronger, is because they are starting to grow stronger roots. They're adapting further into the earth. They don't limit themselves to their height above the earth. They start growing below the earth. They start growing their roots very strong. So they have a strong foundation. So when that storm comes across, they don't fall over. And that's how you are, with this mindfulness. And looking back, even just look back 1 year from now and look at where you were at in life and look at where you're at now. Look at all the things you've accomplished. Look at all those hard days you woke up and you made it through those hard days. Even myself, I don't give myself enough credit. I've pushed through a lot and I always try to shake it off and say, oh yeah, I don't give myself the credit I deserve. But that's what I'm going to start doing in 2022. I'm going to start doing that now because I started to reflect on my life. I'm going to start giving myself more credit for the things I do, and I'm going to celebrate the little wins, because if we're so focused on that end goal and we never celebrate the little wins, it leaves us, for more potential to fall off, to not keep following through. And they've done studies on that before where people actually celebrate the little wins, the little victories. And when they celebrate those little victories, they end up achieving that goal. And then they look back on all those little victories. And that's where the gratitude is, the pot of the gold at the end of that rainbow is the pot of gold. But that journey to the pot of gold is what people will appreciate. All the scrapes and bruises that you've gotten along the way, all the strength you've gained from that journey, that's what you're going to reflect on. So I ask you, reflect on 2021 and ask yourself, what did you accomplish? I guarantee you've pushed through hard days, because with what's going on in the world, everyone's pushed through hard days. We're in a pandemic right now still, and you're still here. You're still here. You're still alive. You're still breathing. You've made it, So just, I ask you, look back and celebrate yourself, Be happy for what you've overcome in your life, and understand that 2022 would have never been able to happen if you didn't push through 2021. So I ask you, what do you want out of 2022? What do you truly want from 2022? And be specific. Be laser focused on what you want, because what we set out to the universe will happen, will eventually happen. And if you're not laser focused with that, then that's what you're going to get. If you say, oh, I want some more money, well, someone will give you 5 cents. Someone will give you $1. That's more money. You see what I mean? You have to be specific. You got to be like, I want to be able to make $3,000 or $5,000 or whatever a month doing this or doing that, You have to set it as a laser focused sight. And when we do that, the universe will eventually unfold for us. So, congratulations. You've made it through 2021 and you're moving on to 2022. 2022 is a blank chapter. It's a blank slate. It's time that you can create the life that you've always wanted to create. And you don't have to jump out the gate swinging. Understand that it's a marathon and it takes time. And compounded interest always adds up. All you need to do is 1% a day. 1% a day. 1% adds up to 365. That's in 1 year from now. So with that, I am done. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you had I hope you have a safe New Year's. I hope you are enjoying it with your loved ones, your family, your friends. I hope you're safe out there. And Sukani for listening in and tuning in to me, because I'm pushing myself through my barriers by talking. But I know that it's helping people out there with me talking and just spreading the things that I've been through, and being vulnerable with you, allows you to see that there's people out there like you and you're not alone. So, Sukani, Dagas, or I should say, on Winnegit. Sorry about that. It should be Sukani, which is thank you. On Winnegit means that's all. Dagas, on Winnegit, Dagas. And remember, everything happens for the right reasons.